Silence fell like a shroud across the Vidian flagship's conference chamber, but it was not the silence of peace. It was the stunned, disbelieving hush of 12 alien species whose understanding of war, and indeed, of life itself, was about to be irrevocably shattered by a single, damning piece of footage. "Play it again," Ambassador Zorax, his green skin now a sickly gray, commanded, his voice barely a whisper. "I need to be certain of what we're seeing." The images flickered to life. A human research station, a modest cluster of modules clinging to an asteroid between Mars and Jupiter. Primitive by Galactic Confederation standards, yes, but functional. Then, like predators from the void, 3 Draxian pirate ships descended. Their crimson hulls, infamous throughout the galaxy, promised only rapine and destruction. Energy weapons lanced out, swiftly disabling the station's meager defenses. "Standard Draxian tactics," military advisor Krell rumbled, his tone bored. "Nothing unexpected." But then, the humans did the unexpected. The impossible. They fought back. Captain William Hayes, his face etched with grim determination but devoid of fear, appeared on the comms. "All personnel, battle stations. This is not a drill. Implement Protocol Sierra." The observers watched, aghast. These utterly outmatched beings, with their fragile bodies and crude technology, were defying the inevitable. Their weapons, metal projectiles propelled by chemical explosions, Science Officer Ma whispered, aghast. "They cannot possibly expect to penetrate energy shields." Yet, the humans didn't fight fair. They fought human. When the first Draxian boarding party sliced through an airlock, Lieutenant Samantha Rodriguez and her team didn't meet them head-on. No. They vented atmosphere, turning the station's own lifeblood into a weapon, using zero-gravity currents to hurl the armored Draxians into chaos. Clever, Dren, the tactical expert, grudgingly conceded. They used their environment. In engineering, Chief Gary Powell, a man whose face screamed exhaustion but whose eyes burned with defiance, worked frantically. "If we overload the EMP generators simultaneously, we might disable their systems," he barked. His assistant protested, "It will damage our own systems." Powell's response was a chilling, resolute nod. "Better damaged than dead." Ambassador Zorax paused the footage, his gaze sweeping the stunned room. "Note this behavior," he instructed. "They willingly cripple their own assets as a tactical choice. No Confederation species would consider such a trade-off." Outside, a tiny human maintenance craft, never designed for combat, danced like a defiant gnat around a Draxian behemoth. Flight Officer Lisa Chen, a blur of motion, positioned it near the pirate's main sensor array. Then, she released a cloud of metallic particles, repurposed maintenance materials, hurled into the void not with energy, but with sheer, stubborn ingenuity. The Draxian ship went blind. In the lab, Dr. Frank Morris, the lead researcher, ordered his team to the escape pods, safeguarding precious data, but not without a crucial command: if captured, give them outdated information. Make them think we're even more primitive. A tactical feint, even in retreat. Dr. Helen Ward, a medic, calmly shielded her patients with her own body as debris rained down. "Their disregard for personal safety defies logical analysis," psychologist Shintar murmured. "They prioritize group survival over individual survival." But the most disturbing sequence was yet to come. Security Chief John Bennett led a direct boarding action. 6 humans, armed with primitive projectile weapons and thin pressure suits, fighting their way onto an alien warship. Impossible, several observers gasped. But it wasn't. They moved with a chilling, practiced coordination, using hand signals, deploying simple mechanical traps. Bennett, struck by an energy blast that seared his arm, merely slapped on a patch and pressed on. They did not retreat. The footage ended with Bennett, his arm still smoking, offering terms to the shell-shocked Draxian captain: "Withdraw your ships, and your crew lives. Continue, and none survive." The Draxian, utterly broken, accepted. The conference room was silent once more. "This changes our assessment," Zorax declared, his voice firming. "Category 3? Primitive? A profound error." Krell nodded, a tremor in his voice. "They lack our technology, but their tactical thinking, it's unsettling. They improvise. They adapt. They sacrifice. They fight when all probability models dictate surrender. Most concerning, Shintar added, is their apparent lack of fear. No, that's not quite right. Their biometrics indicate fear. But they act despite it. Zorax rose, his tall frame casting a long shadow. We must revise our first contact protocols immediately. If this is how humans respond to a small pirate raid, imagine their response to any perceived threat from the Confederation. The implications hung heavy. This was just one small outpost. And there were billions of them. 3 days later, the Confederation observation post orbiting Jupiter received an urgent transmission. The Draxian Horde has taken our analysis of human combat capabilities as a challenge, Ambassador Zorax announced, his voice tight with worry. They are planning a larger attack on the human lunar colony. Their high commander believes the previous encounter was merely luck. Science Officer Mila shook her head, her tendrils swaying. That is a dangerous miscalculation. What we observed was not luck. It was adaptability. 2 hours later, the Draxian fleet materialized. 7 warships, vastly larger and more potent than the pirate vessels, gleaming crimson against the black void as they closed in on the lunar colony, home to over 5,000 humans. Krell activated the advanced surveillance systems. We will record everything. The Council must see their response. On the lunar surface, alarms shrieked. Colonel Alan Foster, a mountain of a man, calmly activated emergency protocols and hailed Earth. Unidentified vessels approaching lunar orbit. Configuration matches hostiles from the asteroid incident. Implementing defensive measures. Request immediate support. Earth's response was immediate. Admiral Catherine Wilson, commander of the United Defense Fleet, appeared on screen. Her gray hair pulled back, her eyes steel. Support is on the way, Colonel. Hold them off until we arrive. The Confederation observers watched, awestruck, at the humans' reaction. No panic. Civilians moved with practiced efficiency to shelters. Defense personnel took positions. Their behavior suggests they have prepared for this scenario, Shintar observed, baffled. Yet they had never encountered hostile aliens before this month. Dren nodded. They prepare for threats they have not yet faced. Dr. Olivia Johnson, the colony's chief engineer, directed her team to activate a system that had never been tested in actual combat. Power up the electromagnetic pulse generators, she ordered. If they try to land forces, we'll disrupt their navigation. Her assistant looked worried. But that will affect our systems. Dr. Johnson's grim smile was a chilling sight. We've hardened our essentials. And we know how to fight in the dark. I doubt the Draxians do. The Draxian fleet opened fire, targeting the colony's main power facility. But the humans had anticipated this. The visible generators were decoys, the true power systems lay buried deep beneath the lunar regolith. Colonel Foster's voice boomed across the comms, all units, Operation FALX. Air support, you are cleared to launch. Hidden hangar doors sprang open across the lunar surface. Small, angular fighter craft, unlike anything the aliens had ever seen, burst forth. Those craft do not match any known human design in our records, Ambassador Zorax noted, a new tremor in his voice. They must have been developing them in secret. Lieutenant Greg Martinez led the first squadron. Remember your training, he told his pilots, his voice steady. They have better weapons, but we have better pilots. Use the moon's low gravity to your advantage. The human fighters, like angry hornets, executed maneuvers that defied physics, using craters as cover, firing precise bursts from their railguns, then vanishing. The massive Draxian ships, designed for the open void, floundered. When one descended too low, Dr. Johnson triggered the EMP. The alien vessel plunged, uncontrolled, into a crater. From Earth, Admiral Wilson's fleet approached. A hastily assembled collection of military and retrofitted civilian ships, by Confederation standards, it should have been fodder for the Draxians. But the aliens were learning, quickly and painfully, that human standards were different. All ships, this is Admiral Wilson, she broadcast.
Remember your training. Stick to the plan.
They have better technology, but we have surprise.
They don't know what we've been preparing. The Earth fleet split, engaging the Draxians directly, circling to flank, and holding back a reserve. A classic pincer movement, Krell muttered, basic, yet effective. Then, the humans unleashed their true surprise. The smallest reserve vessels launched what appeared to be simple metal containers. They latched onto Draxian hulls, then erupted in clouds of nanobots, tiny machines that began devouring sensor arrays and weapon systems. Nanoscale warfare. Science officer Mila gasped. We thought they were decades away from such technology. Captain Samantha Rodriguez, commanding one of Earth's largest vessels, took a direct hit.
The bridge buckled, but she remained at her post, blood streaming from a deep gash on her arm.
Keep firing, she roared. Hold the line until the nanobots do their job. The Draxian commander, seeing his fleet crumble, ordered a direct strike on the lunar colony.
If he couldn't win, he would wreak vengeance. Colonel Foster saw it coming. Without hesitation, he activated the colony's last defense, a prototype energy shield that enveloped the main habitats. The power drain was immense, the colony plunged into darkness. In the dim light of chemical lamps, Dr. Richard Wells, a medical officer, continued surgery on an injured defender, relying on manual instruments. Almost like field medicine in the old days, he remarked, calmly.
My grandfather was a combat medic. He taught me to be ready for anything. The battle reached its climax when the nanobots finally crippled the Draxian flagship. Admiral Wilson offered terms.
The Draxian commander, defeated and humiliated, accepted.
In the observation post, Zorax watched the conclusion with a mix of relief and profound unease. The Council must see this immediately, he said. We must re-evaluate everything we thought we knew about humans. What troubles you most, Ambassador? Shintar asked.
Zorax gestured to the viewscreen, where human ships were securing the captured Draxian vessels. Not just their victory against superior technology, but how they achieved it. They combined ancient tactics with innovative technology. They prepared for threats they had never encountered. And most disturbing of all, he paused, his voice dropping to a somber tone. They fight harder when protecting others than when protecting themselves.
News of the lunar battle exploded across the Galactic Confederation.
High Counselor Vexna, of the ancient Arcturine species, broke the stunned silence at the emergency council meeting. In all my 300 cycles, I have never witnessed such disturbing combat behavior.
Defense Minister Krell added, the humans should not have won either engagement.
Their technology is primitive compared to Draxian weaponry.
Yet, they prevailed. Twice. Tactical analyst Pell displayed holographic battle formations. They adapt old ideas to new environments.
Their ancient ocean warfare doctrines now apply to space.
It makes no sense. Ambassador Zorax nodded.
And that is precisely why they are dangerous.
They think differently than we do.
They do not follow expected patterns. While the council debated, High Commander Krex, red scales flushed with fury, addressed his Draxian War Council.
Twice we have been humiliated by these primitive beings. No more testing. No more small engagements. We will launch a full attack on their home world. The humans will learn what it means to challenge the Draxian horde. On Earth, the United Nations Security Council met. Admiral Wilson presented her analysis. President Stephen Clark listened intently.
We've won 2 battles, but this is not over, he stated.
Intelligence suggests the Draxians are preparing a much larger attack. We need to be ready. Defense Minister Patricia Wong rose. We've been preparing for this possibility since first contact with the Vidians. Operation Guardian is ready.
In orbit, civilian stations transformed into fortresses overnight, engineers working with a desperate fury, installing weapons designed years ago but never deployed. Captain Ben Martinez, overseeing Space Station Liberty, declared, I need those railgun platforms operational in 12 hours.
The Draxians are already on the move.
Dr. Linda Chen, head of Advanced Weapons Research, unveiled her team's secret, the Swarm. Thousands of autonomous drones, each simple, yet together, capable of overwhelming complex defense systems through sheer numbers. General Paul Rivera, ever practical, asked, tested? Dr. Chen shook her head. Only in simulations. But promising. Rivera's response was immediate, good enough. Get them ready. 3 days later, the observation post detected the approaching Draxian fleet. 23 warships, Zorax sent to the Council, his alarm palpable. This is no longer a skirmish. This is an invasion. Psychologist Shintar asked, should we warn the humans? Krell shook his head. Our directive is clear, observe. Do not interfere. But Zorax, having studied the humans, countered, I believe they already know. He was right. Earth's network of stealth satellites had already detected the Armada. Admiral Wilson, from her command center beneath the Pacific, addressed the combined Earth Defense Forces. This is what we've been preparing for. The Draxians believe their superior technology guarantees victory. They're wrong. What they have in technology, we will match with ingenuity and determination. Colonel Steve Jackson led the first line of defense, a fleet of seemingly unarmed transport vessels. As the Draxian vanguard closed in, the transports deployed their cargo, thousands of space mines, disguised as debris. Explosions ripped through the Draxian formation, crippling 3 ships, damaging others. The main fleet slowed, buying Earth precious, agonizing seconds. Captain Maria Alvarez, commanding the stealth vessel Shadow, had a critical mission: deploy the swarm to the Draxian flagship. As her ship slipped between the colossal alien vessels, she spoke quietly to her crew. Steady, everyone. We've trained for this. They can't see us. In the observation post, Science Officer Mila pointed, incredulous. They've developed functional stealth technology. Sensor-absorbing materials beyond their metallurgical capabilities. The battle intensified. Earth's main fleet engaged in Jupiter's orbit, outnumbered and outgunned, but using the gas giant's immense gravity and radiation belts as a weapon. Fighter squadrons, led by Major Eric Powell, drew Draxian ships into suicidal pursuit courses that ended in Jupiter's crushing atmosphere. Pull up at the last possible second. Powell shouted. Their ships are heavier. They can't pull out as fast. 3 Draxian cruisers were lost to the gas giant before they changed tactics. Meanwhile, Captain Alvarez's Shadow reached its target. Deploy the swarm, she ordered. Thousands of tiny drones, each no larger than a human hand but packed with explosive charges and targeting systems, swarmed the Draxian flagship. The aliens, used to defending against large weapons, were overwhelmed. Their point defense systems failed against the sheer number of tiny, relentless attackers. High Commander Krex roared in fury as his bridge displays went dark. What is happening? Small attack drones, his second-in-command reported. They're everywhere. Our systems are failing. In the observation post, the aliens watched, a mixture of horror and fascination on their faces. They're using a biological model for warfare, Krell murmured, shaking his head. Like insect swarms from their planet. Primitive, yet effective. Zorax added, no civilized species would consider such a tactic. The tide turned. The crippled Draxian flagship lost coordination. Admiral Wilson seized the moment, unleashing her reserves. The Earth fleet executed a complex maneuver, encircling a portion of the disorganized Draxian forces, forcing their surrender. Krex, seeing his invasion collapse, ordered his remaining ships to target Earth directly. If we cannot conquer them, we will make them suffer. But Earth had one final, terrifying layer of defense. As the Draxian ships approached, a network of ground-based energy weapons, hidden beneath astronomical observatories, activated. Precisely targeted beams lanced out, tearing through alien hulls. In her bunker, Defense Minister Wong watched. Checkmate, she whispered. Ambassador Zorax turned to his colleagues. We have grossly underestimated these humans. They are not just fighting for survival. They are fighting for each other, and that makes them more dangerous than we ever imagined. The aftermath was a tense quiet. Earth's defenses remained vigilant, but for the first time, a grim hope settled over humanity.
In the observation post, Krell reviewed footage. Deception constantly. Fake retreats, false targets, hidden weapons. No honorable species fights this way. Science officer Mila countered, it's not about honor for them. It's about survival.
And protecting each other. Psychologist Shintar played intercepted comms.
My engines are hit.
I'm losing power, a strained voice said.
Hang on, Joe. I'm coming to get you, another replied. Negative, Sam. Too risky. Complete the mission. Not leaving you out here, buddy. Squadron, cover me. I'm going in. Shintar stopped the recording. This pattern repeats.
They risk mission success to save individuals. It defies rational combat logic.
Admiral Wilson met with her command staff.
The invasion has been repelled, but we're not safe, she stated.
17 Draxian ships escaped. They're regrouping beyond Neptune. Calling for reinforcements.
Her expression hardened. We can't wait for them to attack again.
We need to take the fight to them. President Clark, after a moment's deliberation, ordered, Admiral, prepare an offensive. We strike before they recover. In the captured Draxian flagship, now docked at an orbital station, Dr. Linda Chen led a team dissecting alien technology.
Their weapons are 50 years ahead of ours, she reported to General Scott Baker.
But their computer systems are vulnerable. No proper security protocols. Baker grinned. Can we use that?
Absolutely, Chen replied, eyes bright with exhaustion and excitement.
We're developing a virus to disable their navigation.
And we've cracked their comm codes.
We can listen to everything.
Beyond Neptune, Sub-Commander Var, now in charge, assured his captains, our forces are coming. 3 battle fleets will arrive within 7 rotations. Every word was monitored. Colonel Rivera played the intercepted comms for the council.
7 rotations. 10 days, maybe. Not much time.
Captain Maria Alvarez, whose shadow had proven indispensable, proposed a daring plan. We don't need to wait for reinforcements. My ship can deliver a small strike team to their base.
We can deploy Dr. Chen's virus directly into their network. Admiral Wilson stared at her. It's risky. No chance of rescue that far out. Alvarez stood tall. We understand the risks, Admiral. We volunteer.
The Confederation observers watched, alarmed, as the shadow slipped away, heading toward the outer system.
They're not waiting to be attacked again, Zorax realized. They're taking the offensive.
Krell studied the ship's profile.
A single ship against the remaining Draxian force. That's suicide. Perhaps, Zorax mused. Or perhaps it's something we still don't understand.
The shadow moved like a ghost.
Captain Alvarez and her crew maintained absolute silence. Lieutenant Peter Russell, electronic warfare expert, prepared his team. One chance. 3 minutes to get back after deploying the virus.
The Draxian base, a patchwork of damaged ships, orbited a small moon.
Security was minimal. Their overconfidence would be their undoing.
The shadow approached from the moon's dark side.
Launch the insertion team, Alvarez ordered.
Russell and 3 specialists launched in tiny pods.
Using reverse-engineered Draxian tools, they bypassed security, entering undetected. In the observation post, Mila gasped. They sent 4 individuals against an entire base. The probability of success is virtually 0.
Inside, Russell's team moved with practiced precision. They located a central computer node, connected Dr. Chen's device.
The virus began uploading. 60 seconds, Russell whispered, watching the progress bar. A Draxian patrol passed. The humans froze, blending into shadows. The patrol moved on. 90 seconds. The virus completed its upload.
Alarms shrieked across the base, but the virus activated false protocols, sending Draxians to empty sections. Mission accomplished, Russell reported, his voice tight with adrenaline.
The team extracted, launching just as the Draxians realized the catastrophic truth.
The shadow was already gone.
In the silent observation post, Zorax broke the hush.
They sent 4 individuals on what should have been a suicide mission.
Those humans knew they might not return. Yet they volunteered. Krell admitted, "I do not understand."
That, Ambassador, Zorax said, his voice heavy with revelation, is exactly what makes them so dangerous.
The virus crippled the Draxian network, scattering their approaching reinforcement fleets with false coordinates.
The virus is working, Admiral Wilson said, grimly satisfied.
Their fleet is splitting up just as we planned. President Clark studied the tactical display. How long until they realize they've been tricked? Colonel Rivera replied, a few hours at most. But by then, it will be too late. We'll be waiting for them. Earth's fleet, bolstered by salvaged Draxian tech, moved into position.
Damaged ships were back in service, many with improvised repairs and alien weapons haphazardly integrated. Captain Ben Martinez, commanding a hybrid vessel, addressed his nervous crew. This ship might be a bit of a patchwork, but so is every great innovation in human history.
We adapt. We improve. We survive. The first Draxian battle group arrived at the false coordinates, expecting comrades, finding instead Earth's main battle fleet.
Before they could regroup, the human ships opened fire with weapons the Draxians didn't know they possessed. Captain Susan Lee commanded, all ships, concentrate fire on their command vessels.
Use the new targeting data. Their shields are weakest at the junction points. Confused and disoriented, their navigation systems failing, several Draxian ships collided. The second and third Draxian battle groups fell into separate traps, some into minefields, others lured by fast human squadrons into ambushes near Saturn's rings.
Major Eric Powell instructed his pilots, hit and run. Draw them into the ring plane, then break off.
The mines will do the rest.
Draxian cruisers, less maneuverable, were destroyed in the treacherous environment.
Back on Earth, Dr. Chen reported, the virus is degrading.
Their systems are adapting faster than anticipated.
How much longer? Defense Minister Wong demanded. An hour, maybe less. Admiral Wilson's jaw tightened. Then we press our advantage. All fleet commanders, accelerate your timetables. Don't give them a chance to regroup.
Battles raged across the solar system, from Mercury to Neptune. But these weren't defensive stands. This was a human offensive, fought with a controlled aggression that stunned the Confederation observers. There's a pattern, tactical analyst Pell noted. They're not trying to destroy the Draxian forces completely. They're hurting them. Ambassador Zorax's eyes widened as the realization hit him. The scattered Draxian vessels, retreating from multiple failed engagements, were all being pushed towards a single location, Mars. Waiting for them was Earth's newest, most terrifying weapon. 6 massive space stations, arranged in a hexagonal pattern, activated powerful energy beams, forming an impenetrable containment field. Dr. Peter Grant, the lead scientist, explained to President Clark.
The field is based on Draxian shield principles, but modified. Instead of keeping things out, it keeps things in. The trapped Draxian ships fired desperately, but their weapons had no effect.
The Draxian fleet commander, his scaled face a mask of rage and disbelief, opened a channel.
How is this possible? You are a primitive species. You should not have this technology.
Admiral Wilson's reply was calm, chilling.
We adapt. It's what humans do best. After a tense negotiation, the Draxians surrendered.
Their remaining ships, with minimal crews, were allowed to leave, never to return.
The rest were taken prisoner. In the observation post, Zorax finalized his report. Humans are not just another emerging species. They represent something entirely new.
A civilization that can absorb and improve upon advanced technology at an alarming rate, and possesses a form of warfare unlike anything seen before.
Psychologist Shintar, unusually quiet, finally spoke. Do you know what disturbs me most? Not their adaptability or their tactics. It's what they did after achieving victory. She brought up footage, human medical teams treating wounded Draxian prisoners.
They fight with terrifying efficiency, but then they show mercy to the same beings who try to destroy them.
I cannot reconcile these behaviors. Krell nodded slowly.
That is precisely what makes them dangerous. As Earth celebrated, Admiral Wilson stood alone in her office, gazing at the stars.
We've won, President Clark said, joining her. Earth is safe.
Wilson shook her head slightly.
For now. But we've revealed ourselves. The Draxians won't be the last. Are you concerned? He asked.
She turned to face him, a faint smile touching her lips.
No. I'm hopeful. We've proven something important today. What's that? That humanity belongs among the stars.
Not because we're peaceful or perfect, but because we're survivors.
We adapt. We learn. And when necessary, we fight.
Unknown to either of them, Ambassador Zorax had come to the same harrowing conclusion. His final recommendation to the Confederation Council was simple, stark, and utterly terrifying in its implications: do not engage humans in warfare.
Offer them membership instead. Better to have these terrifying warriors as allies than as enemies.